For technical reasons that I don't fully understand, the following conversation between me and Ron on Amazon Women on the Moon and Nude on the Moon didn't record properly and occasionally descends into a glitchy, unlistenable mess. Now, you might think, oh, how cynical of you just to put out this crap into the world, and expect us to listen to it. However, I think equally cynical would be for me and Ron to retake the whole thing and tell the same anecdotes and kind of pretend and try and capture the spirit of the first time round. I think that would probably be crap as well in a different way. So why put it up at all? Well, that's a more reasonable question. I suppose it serves as a bridge between the last episode previous and the next one coming up, because they're all kind of connected. So, on balance, why not? 80% of it survives. It's free. You can always stop listening or not listen to it at all. Anyway, this is the disclaimer that this one's a bit of a mess. Sorry about that, but yeah, there we go. Cheers, bye. Also, whenever Clive says Vic Argo, he does of course mean Vic Morrow. Two totally different people. Vic Argo. This is you. This is you're the lead in on this one, right? Okie dokie then, Ron. You take it away in your own time.
Okay, hello everyone. Welcome to another edition of the Magic Morning Wood. As always, I'm Ron, and with me is
Clive.
Hi everyone. Hi Clive, how are you doing?
I'm good. And yourself, Ron?
Yeah, not bad. Yeah, things are going well. We're still doing the remote wood, remote Magic Morning Wood. Yeah, so staying safe in your neck of the woods.
Yes, I mean lots of talk as always. Lots of people panicking, and but as far as I can tell, on an anecdotal level, nothing's really changed for me personally. Right. For you as well, it seems. In that, I know other things have changed for you recently, but in that regard, business as usual, right?
As usual, yeah, I guess so far, yeah. So, yeah. And have you been working on your trip to the moon?
Yes, the moon. Very much the subject of today's.
Oh yeah. Sorry, yeah. I was trying to do like a real a nice transition into the topic, but it didn't really work. I was giving you an offer for you to say, oh yes, I'm thinking of like buying a ticket on the rocket to the moon, and then we could use that to transition or to segue into the topic. But
I see.
You hit that basketball to the ground. I said in the past, and you swatted to the ground.
Do you want to try it again?
Yeah. Okay. So okay. Hey, how's it going? You were planning that trip to the moon?
No.
Oh, right. Okay. Well, thanks everyone for joining us today at Magic Morning Wood. This is.
It's going well.
Oh, yes. As we so eloquently explained, today's theme is the moon. Okay.
It's not really. I mean, it's.
It's sort of, yeah. Well, that's the linking thread, I guess, that links.
So the last film we spoke of was Moon.
Was Moon, right? Yeah. Right. So yeah. So starring Sam Rockwell.
Yes, and this time you've chosen.
Taking the idea of the moon. All right. So I was thinking of different movies I could have done this time, and for the delay, Clive. Took a while deciding this one because I really wasn't sure which way to go. So I was thinking of another Sam Rockwell movie. I was thinking of Confessions of a Dangerous Mind, possibly, and some other. And then I was thinking of some other clone ones, which we kind of already did a little bit already. So I didn't want to retread that stuff, or just sort of science fiction movies and stuff like that. But then I decided, I'm just gonna go with the moon and go with the old classic Amazon Women on the Moon.
Okay, so it was just the word moon was the loose.
Yeah, it really was just the word. Yeah, so I was just thinking moon. Hey, how about Amazon Women on the Moon? I have some stuff I think I can talk about with that movie. So I
thought it might be something else. You were going to throw another trivia question at me, like what is the one connecting crew member between Moon and Amazon Women on the Moon? And they both had the same, catering director or something like that.
No, just the word moon. That's
okay, good.
This time, yeah. So yeah, so so it was the 1987. Five?
Well, it was famously kind of
held for a while.
85, and then it was delayed, right, because of the well, I think the reason it was delayed was because of the trial of John Landis had to go through because of the deaths on the Twilight Zone, the movie. So I think
okay, well, why don't you talk about that? I actually don't know what you're talking about. Why don't you?
Oh well, if I haven't prepared to talk about it, so I might get some of the details wrong. But basically, filming, if you remember Twilight Zone, the movie, which was like an anthology film, right?
Right. Okay. Yeah.
Directors. So John Landis shot one sequence of Twilight Zone, the movie, and during the sequence
of toilets. One secret of toilet. I don't remember this sequence. Do you remember the toilet sequence?
Did I say something about a toilet?
I thought you said the sequence of toilets.
I think that was just my accent being weird, maybe.
I was like, toilets. What is it? He was on trial for toilets. What's happening?
His sequence of Twilight, as in Twilight on the movie.
Twilight. Oh, I see. Twilight, not toilet. Okay, Twilight.
Anyway, he was sitting on the toilet.
Okay.
And a stunt went wrong, basically, where a helicopter crashed and
to a toilet.
No toilet.
Okay, no.
And the rotor blades killed the actor Vic Argo, sliced him in half, and killed two children, like Vietnamese American kids. So I don't know if they were Vietnamese, but they were Asian American kids playing, because that sequence is set in Vietnam during the Vietnamese War. This
is from the Twilight Zone, the movie.
Yes, but this actually happened in reality. The helicopter, the helicopter did crash, did kill Vic Argo, who's Jennifer Jason Leigh's father, by the way, and these two kids as well. So basically, John Landis was on trial for negligence, whether it was his responsibility, his fault, basically, that this has happened.
For the deaths of 3 people, and actually, I actually hadn't heard this story. So
yeah,
3 people died, including Jennifer Jason Leigh's dad, on the set of Twilight Zone movie.
Yeah,
and what happened to John Landis? Was he guilty or
no? He was
acquitted.
Yeah.
Okay.
There's an interesting book I have a book I can lend you. It's called I think it's called Outrageous Behavior or something like that. It's all about that trial, and they make the case for actually maybe John Landis should have been held a lot more accountable.
Was anyone ultimately found guilty for that?
I can't remember, but I think no. I
don't the think director or something. Or?
No, I think pretty much got off scot-free.
Oh, really?
I think, yeah.
Does Jennifer Jason Leigh have any comments about this whole sequence?
I don't know.
Has she ever been quoted as being interviewed about this whole?
I don't know. I mean, obviously, I don't think she's been in any John Landis film.
Yeah, right.
But I don't know. I mean, she's famously a bit of a kind of ghost off screen, apparently, right? She's one of those, a bit like Peter Sellers, apparently has no kind of personality between roles,
Oh, really?
Yeah. But the interesting, I mean, it's an interesting case, but the one addition I would say to this, and this sounds insane, but John Landis made a film in the late 90s called Susan's Plan.
Okay.
Where Lara Flynn Boyle was in it, I think, if I remember correctly. And there's a sequence in that directed by John Landis, and there's a sequence in that film, very brief sequence, but there's a weird sequence where I can't remember. It's been a few years, but basically it's a scene where it's like a slow motion scene, if I remember correctly, where some Asian kids are in distress, like for some reason, I can't remember why, but they're in distress and they're like, like screaming like that. And then you cut to I can't remember if it's Lara Flynn Boyle or another character kind of running in their direction to help them. I can't remember exactly what's happening.
Okay.
But the image is these screaming Asian kids like, in distress, and this woman running to help them. And then, I swear to God, they've edited in on the soundtrack the sound of helicopter blades.
Okay.
For no reason at all. There's no helicopter in the scene. Just a really strange, fucked up.
It's like him going through like this sort of like mental trauma of this happening to him or something, or just sort
no, because it's a comedy as well, right? So it's nothing like that. It's like a
comedy
sick reference or something.
Wow,
really peculiar. It's otherwise utterly.
What's the title of that movie?
Susan's Plan.
Susan's Plan. Okay.
But I think it's also known as something else. But I saw it as Susan's Plan when it was new, when it came out on here in video. And it's not a very particularly remarkable film at all. It's actually quite boring. But that sequence is just like, you watch it and you think, have you lost your mind? Like, even if that wasn't intentional, did no one catch this during the editing process? Like, even if it wasn't meant to be, it just seems like that's not a good idea, John. You should probably remove that scene.
Stay away from Asian kids in helicopter blades, right? Yeah, so,
yeah, it's very odd.
Unless maybe like the editor put it in there just to kind of like make him look bad or something.
I don't know. I mean, you'd think he would have. Yeah, I don't know. Yeah,
that or something.
It's weird. It's one of those things you'd think would be one of those quite well-known things, like you'd hear people say, "Oh, you'll never," But I remember Susan's Plan coming out and just disappearing, and hardly anyone saw it, I think.
I never even heard of it, so I'm just looking it up now. Yeah, so it's Natasha Kinski, right?
I can't remember. I remember Lara Flynn Boyle was in it, and I might be wrong.
Yeah, it's got Natasha Kinski and Billy Zane and Michael Bain, Rob Schneider.
Is Lara Flynn Boyle not even in it then?
Thomas Hayden Church. No, she is. She's fifth cast. So, yeah, it's very strange cast. So,
yeah. John Landis always does quite well with his casts, I think, as he does in this film. So just getting back to
anyway, so this was all going on, which is why the delay of Amazon Women on the Moon was delayed.
I think so. Yeah.
Okay. Interesting. Okay, so because he was only one of 5 directors of this movie, right? So
yeah, I think it was more of a bad press kind of thing. Like I think it was like, okay, we might not want to release anything with John Landis's name on until this trial is over and done with.
Right. Okay. Yeah. So this is directed by has 5 different directors, because it's basically like a Saturday Night Live episode.
Right.
This whole movie, right? It's just a series of sketches which are almost completely unrelated, and it's sort of like just random like movie, television show, and comedy and commercial parodies.
Yes.
Under the auspices of like a sort of an old recording of this old 1960, was it 1960 or 1950s movie, or I don't know what movie it was supposed to be.
Well, one of the gags is the release date of it keeps changing.
Right? Yeah. So anyway, of this movie called Amazon Women on the Moon, and they're playing it on like a Saturday afternoon or something like that. But then they keep like they keep having technical difficulties or switching to commercials or other TV shows and stuff. So basically, that's the whole thing. It was just them trying to show bits. So you see, the actual movie Amazon Women on the Moon is maybe 10 minutes of the whole movie, whereas the rest of it is just other stuff that they keep cutting through. And one of the other gags is them saying, there will be no further interruptions, but then they immediately start interrupting themselves.
My feeling is my feeling was more it's like a late night show, like where they
maybe late night, rather than it could be that too, so but I guess each piece had different directors, so that's why. So there's actually 5 different directors. So there's Joe Dante, Paul Gottlieb, Peter Horton, John Landis, and Robert K. Weiss, who are all credited as directors. Written by Michael Berry and Jim Mulholland. Right. So, and starring, according to the credits at the beginning, a whole bunch of people.
Right. A lot of actors, right?
A lot of actors.
Yeah. And I'm glad you mentioned the screenwriters as well, because I think that's the main difference between. So this is kind of the way I remember this being sold is as a sequel to Kentucky Fried Movie, right?
Right.
1977, which it kind of is, but the only real connective tissue is Landis and Robert K. Weiss, right? But Kentucky Fried Movie was the Zaz team, right? The Zucker Abrams and Zucker were a main part of that before they went on to do Airplane and Top Secret and stuff.
Right.
And they're not involved in this at all. It's these 2 guys, Michael Barry and Jim Mulholland, who I didn't know, so I looked them up, and they seem to be more like late night show, chat show, like gag writers. Like I think they wrote for like Letterman and Carson and people like that, right? So it's kind of a slightly different. It's considered a sequel to Kentucky Fried Movie, and I suppose it is. It has the same format where it's just like a sketch show on film,
right?
But it doesn't have the kind of what you'd expect from the Zaz Airplane. It's not quite that like that. It's its own thing in a way.
Right. Actually, I've never seen Kentucky Fried Movie, so I'm not really sure. But I heard it was a sequel, but I've never seen that one. So,
I've never seen Kentucky Fried Movie. I've been quite disappointed because I'd seen Amazon Women on the Moon like on TV when I was a kid, and I think even as a kid I realised it was quite touchy, but I liked bits of it. And then I heard for years how it's not touchy, movie, and I love it. And then eventually seeing Kentucky Fried Movie. Kentucky Fried Movie isn't very funny at all. I think this is actually funnier than Kentucky Fried Movie, which kind of says a lot about Kentucky Fried Movie. So I think this is better, but that's not the consensus. I think the consensus is Kentucky Fried Movie is great, and this is
better, and this is the pale brother.
Yeah.
Okay.
I think that's the consensus, right?
So how many watches that you said you've seen this as a kid?
Yeah, I think I must have taped it off late night TV or something, not knowing what it was, but oddly enough, the title Amazon Women on the Moon, I probably might have thought I was taping the kind of 50s sci-fi thing that it was parodying, because I would have loved those things when I was a kid. Like Women on the Moon and Fire Maidens from Outer Space and that kind of thing. And then, just kind of stumbled across it, I suppose. And because I had it on video as a kid, and I must have watched it a few times, I would have thought, like 3, 4, when you're a kid, you only have a limited amount of things. But a lot of it was quite familiar to me. Although it had been a while, so a lot of it, like I remembered certain things. I remembered Bullshit or Not and stuff like that. But other parts, like the Arsenio Hall stuff at the beginning, I'd forgotten about this very long out of place sequence. So how about you?
Yeah.
When did you?
Well, before I officially chose it, I actually went to your book and I looked at your review for it first, and I saw that you had been relatively positive about it. So,
right, yeah.
You had said basically what you just said was that you thought it was better than Kentucky Fried Movie. So I was like, okay, well maybe I'll choose it. We could have like a nice laugh and maybe we could revisit it. And I remember watching this same as you several times when I was a kid. I think I must have had it on video or something. And shockingly, I'm watching it again. I was like, I can't believe my mother let me watch this movie when I was a kid, because there's a lot of not really appropriate stuff for kids in this movie. But but I remember watching this a lot, and I remember like a lot of it I'd forgotten about, and I was like, oh yeah, I remember this. Oh yeah, this thing, and it was like, oh yes, I remember this one. And it gradually occurred to me as I was watching it how significant this movie was in the formation of my sense of humor.
Right.
I think this movie, even though I had forgotten, I remember I'd forgotten a lot about it, but I remember having sort of like generally positive feelings associated with it, which is why I wanted to revisit it again. But I was thinking like, oh, actually, like I've done things like this, or I've written or performed and things like this, which were really, really close to this. And I think this is where I discovered this kind of joke or this kind of comedy. And I feel like probably I must have learned I think this was a really important
Right.
important part of the formation of my sense of humor as it is now. So that at least has it going for it, right? So
Yeah.
and not all the bits work.
No,
and I used to like Saturday Night Live, and all those types of sketch shows, and I was really big on stand-up and stuff when I was a kid. And so I was big into comedy. I liked a lot of comedies, but this movie, for some reason, I remember watching a lot and having a lot of, and I remember this sketch really, and there were other sketches which I did not remember at all, right? So it was interesting. So, and some that watching now, I knew that were I didn't remember them because I think they were just going over my head at the time. Like I remember one. The one at the very, very end, they stuck in during the credit scene, the social disease.
Yes.
Yeah. That one I remember. I think I just didn't get it at all when I was a kid. Like I was like, I just didn't understand what was happening here. And as I was watching, I was like, I have very, very, very vague memories of this, but I think it was because I had no idea what they were talking about. So
right.
So yeah, it was the one I remembered one of the least. But I do remember vividly the Arsenio Hall one. I remember, I remember this. And I remember doing like mime shows. I used to do mime in high school. I remember doing mime shows, which was sort of like an outtake of this, which is basically like the everything bad goes wrong for this guy, like the ultimate slapstick. It's just slapstick. Things going wrong. I remember doing stuff like in that vein. And I remember the Loch Ness chapter one. And not all the but I know all. I think it's generally. I enjoy that. I mean, some of it doesn't trend like as about the time the wheel breaks. You can't record on them. They're all like.
Actually, I think that thing actually works better now, just because.
I guess. Yeah, I think it's like as a retro thing. I think.
Right. No, similarly to you, I think for me as well, this film is almost beyond criticism for me because. Like I said, even watching it as a kid, I could tell it was patchy and not all of it was funny. And now watching it now, I felt the same. But I still had a lot of goodwill towards it. Where I could easily skate over the crap bits. Like the crap bits weren't terrible. They were just like, okay, this is going on a bit long now, or like some guys,
which is almost exactly. It's almost exactly the same thing you think about every single episode of Saturday Night Live, which is like some of them are crap, some of them are good, and a lot of like, oh, this is too long. Let's move on to the next one, right? So
it's interesting.
I'm
glad you bring that up because I didn't see Saturday Night Live. It wasn't on television in the UK when I was a kid, so I would never have made that connection to Saturday Night Live. But yes, in retrospect, now that I have seen a bit of it and I know a bit more about it, I think that's bang on the money, right? That comparison is certainly the case.
The only difference being that this one at least has a sort of a very loose thread connecting them, which is they're all kind of parodies of specifically movies and TV show and commercials versus just any kind of sketch, right? So, it's supposed
to be a simulation of I guess a late night on cable where this film is interrupted by all these things. Having said that as well, the actual what I was impressed most this time, I think, was the actual Amazon Women on the Moon parody. It's really well done, I thought, because
I thought so too. I really like and I
play it like really straight. Like there's no winking to the it's there's only a hair's breadth difference between that and the genuine thing. Like the guy from Brooklyn and his pet monkey and then wow.
I'm not as versed in these types of movies as you are, I think, but I immediately felt like these are bang on like stereotypes from these types of movies.
Right.
I can't think of an example, but I know exactly that this guy is from these types of movies. I know must be movies with this exact guy from like it was. And I thought we'll get to it later, but I think your companion piece for today, which is like very. It's almost like Amazon Moon on the Moon was a parody of that movie, right?
Kind of, yeah. We'll get that. It's kind of somewhere in the middle, right? But So the other thing it reminded me of is a little bit. I suppose the nearest comparison would be. Do you remember that movie UHF?
Yeah, well, so that's the thing is that if you had ever chosen Amazon Women on the Moon, my reaction would have been immediately UHF. I mean, it makes me think of UHF immediately, right? So, so I was a huge UHF fan. I was a big Weird Al fan when I was a kid. So,
I think UHF. I think I saw it a little bit when I was a little bit older, so I don't think it would have had quite a hold on me as this would have had. But again, I remember having a similar feeling of, this is patchy, but I like bits, and Ian Phillips in it, and Conan the Librarian is always a good joke.
And Conan the Librarian, it's great. And Wheel of Fish.
Yes, and I even remember stealing, totally unknown to me, stealing something from it, like years later. I remember going to the Glastonbury Festival and staying for a cleanup and having uncovered a spatula someone had left behind in the dirt. And
Spatula City.
Yeah, well, I started doing the spatula dance, and I even took it to London with me with the spatula for some reason, and I would do the spatula dance. And I thought that I'd invented the spatula dance, and then someone pointed out that it's from UHF, and I was like, oh, I totally forgotten where I got the spatula dance from.
You had totally like put it into your subconscious, and that's like one of those like court cases about like musicians like copy other songs.
Right.
I Weird Al.
Oh,
yeah. So he's one of my stories in my life. I was when I was high school. I was a huge Weird Al fan, like from like until most of my formative years. And when I was in high school, he was coming to my hometown doing a concert. So somehow through my school I got backstage passes for this show. So I went to see his show, and he's actually for all he's sort of like supposed to be like a parody and kind of a comic musician. He's actually like a great live performer. Like he's like really fun, amazing, like great live shows. Then afterwards I went back and I got his autograph and I still have it. So
he did stand up, or he did his songs, or what was the show?
No, it was like a concert. It was like a concert of his songs, but he's just so it's he doesn't do stand up. He does he's so he just did it was like a concert, but it was of his songs, but it was like a really amazing show. It was a great concert. It was really one of the best concerts I've been to. So really
did you say people aren't starving in Japan, Al, by the way?
I don't believe I did mention that. Yeah, so I think I think this was
a previous podcast, but I can't remember which one.
And I remember exactly. It was somewhere between 94 and 96 that this happened, because I remember it was just after Kurt Cobain committed suicide.
Okay.
And I remember that he played he's like a Smells Like Nirvana, which is like a Smells Like Teen Spirit parody. He played that and he dedicated it to memory of Kurt Cobain. I have like a tiny I have is
it with parody you can either be disrespectful or be kind of almost like, to parody something well sometimes you almost have to actually quite like it, right? So
I think my impression of Weird Al, we're going, this is sort of a very bad, strange tangent to be going off of. It's nothing to do with the movies. But my parody, usually Weird Al's parodies are always like homages. They're always like something he appreciates, or at least if he doesn't even like the music, he at least appreciates the pop culture significance of the song. And I don't think he's never done anything in mean spirits. I don't think I think that's why he's become a successful parodyist, which is that because he doesn't do anything mean spirited. So I think he's still so yeah. I think most of the Nirvana parody was just about how difficult it is to understand the lyrics. So it's just like mumbling and stuff, right? So yeah. So I think that's just mostly where that parody. A lot of Weird Al's parodies are food. He just puts food in it, and apparently that's what makes it funny. So
I'm not overly familiar with Weird Al's output, I have to admit, but I only know some of the crossover, he did and stuff were actual surprise hits, right? And
I'm fat.
Yeah.
He tends to do food ones a lot. So my lasagna or lasagna and so that's all. But anyway, we digress. But UHF, yes, is very, very similar. And as I was watching this movie, I had a really strong urge to rewatch UHF again. Actually, so I may do that. I may do that again in the near future. So so it inspired me to watch it again.
So some bits and pieces of this film, I guess highlights and lowlights. I wrote some stuff
Sure.
down. I'll just read out like some stuff I wrote down, and then you can jump in or anything I miss out
Right.
if you want to mention. So there's that Arsenio Hall having a bad day thing. So the other thing as well, we watched, I think, the theatrical cut of this film, right, which is slightly different from I think
It has more nudity, I guess, right?
yeah, well, there was things that were cut out of this one and then were replaced with other bits that aren't in this one, which I think are deleted extras on the DVD or whatever.
Oh, okay.
So there's like a Dick Miller as a ventriloquist is one sequence which isn't in this, and I don't remember because the one that was on TV when I was a kid, oddly enough, because I remember liking the reckless youth thing at the end with Carrie Fisher and Paul Bartel, which we mentioned how
I said Margot Kidder, yeah, Carrie Fisher, not
yeah.
For some reason I said Margot Kidder.
Yeah, as good as the Amazon Women on the Moon parody as well. This parody is really on the money as well, I think, of those kind of sex hygiene films.
Which one?
The one at the end, Reckless Youth, the one with Carrie Fisher and Paul Bartel.
Oh, Reckless Youth, yeah. So
and I remember that being on the version I saw when I was a kid. So, and I thought, I might be wrong, I thought that was the version that was cut out of the TV, but that was definitely the version I saw that was on TV. However, I don't think, so the sequence with Monique Gabrielle as a pet house plaything,
right,
walking around naked, there's an alternative cut of that where she's walking around in her underwear,
lingerie, the whole time, yeah.
And I'm
I think they filmed it twice, and I think that was for like the TV version or whatever.
Yeah, and I'm pretty sure that must have been the version of the lingerie version was the one I saw when I was a kid, because if it was this version, it would have been burned on my retina as a child.
Yeah, I was thinking that too. I was like, did I really watch this movie with her walking around completely naked the whole time? I feel like I would have remembered that. I remember that vaguely, but I'm sure I would have remembered it more had it been like that. Yeah, so I must have seen the lingerie one too. So
Monique Gabrielle, who would have just starred in Emmanuel 5 as well by the time this had come out. Yeah, so there was that. I suppose the like weak thing is the Murray going inside the TV and turning up, and that's
but I don't know. I remember having a lot of like Murray, right? Selma. I don't know. I remember that. Even for a couple of days after watching this movie, I kept going to myself, Selma, right? Like I don't know. I again, I still have goodwill towards that stuff. Yeah, so. Like, it was funny. And then him going through like and then that being a good callback, him just kind of coming in at the end of a sketch, whatever.
And King Kong grabs him as well, right at one point.
Yeah. And then he comes in at the end of like something else.
One sketch I thought was a little like sometimes you get these sketches which you're not quite sure what they were going for. It's the one with Michelle Pfeiffer and
the hospital,
and Griffin Dunn is the doctor who's like mislaid their baby. That was like tonally kind of strange. Like I didn't quite. Is this funny or?
I had this one was one I remembered not as much, but I remember very very small. I remember he was in with the drawing on his hand. I remember that, right? But I remember this one not having much of an effect on me in general, and I was like, it's got Michelle Pfeiffer and Griffin Dunn and Peter Horton. They're all in there, right? So it's. Yeah, so I think I probably wouldn't have known who these people were at the time, but
I did laugh at Joe Pantoliano's wig commercial.
Right. Yeah,
that was quite funny. BB King hosting the Black Men Without Soul. That's quite good.
Yeah. I remember David Allen Greer. That whole part with David Allen Greer. I remember like that. And it was also a good callback is that in the I also really remember the I'm sure you'll get to it, the condom one, the Titan condom one. And actually if you notice at the very beginning of that scene when he's driving in the car, he's supposed to get out, you hear like the David Allen Greer singing on the radio.
Right. Yeah, there's a lot of
So I remember that condom one really well. I remember my mother actually talked about it.
Okay.
No, I remember like her like worst scenario. I remember so like I remember I very, very, very vividly remember that one. Yeah. So,
The one I remember most of all,
but I didn't remember though that it was. I didn't remember that it was Kelly Preston though that was in the car.
yeah.
No, yeah. Rest in peace, Kelly Preston.
Looking great as well in this film. It has to be said.
She's looking good. Yeah, it's like what a So yeah, sorry, but and I'm wondering. I noticed. Did you know that the guy from Brooklyn in the Amazon Woman on the Moon with the monkey? Do you know that's I believe John Travolta's brother.
Oh, Joey
Travolta.
Okay.
And so, I'm wondering if Kelly Preston had been married to John Travolta yet at this point. If there's some sort of
no.
I'm wondering if there's anyway. Not really that important, but what the John Travolta connection was at this point.
The two for me that I remember was we mentioned briefly earlier is Henry Silva hosting Bullshit or Not.
Shit or Not. Yeah.
I remember thinking that was hilarious. That Loch Ness Monster is actually Jack the Ripper.
Yeah. I vividly remember that image. I was like, oh yeah, here comes Jack the Ripper. They lost it.
And the other one I remember, and I think is probably the best bit in the film, really, like the most solid, like, okay, this is properly really good, funny comedy, is Ed Begley Jr. as Son of the Invisible Man.
Yeah, Son of the Invisible Man. Yeah, that one I also really remember. Yeah, so
that's so good. So the setup here is obviously it's the Invisible Man, but Ed Begley Jr. has gone insane, but hasn't actually turned invisible, but is convinced that he is, and he's wandering around the local pub like naked, like knocking over chess pieces and stuff, and the locals are like resigned to it. They're like, oh, how did that happen? It's played pitch perfect.
Yeah, perfect. Yeah.
I would have liked more stuff like that.
And that was certainly probably like there were all the well placed, the chair just in the place to, just the right way to cover up his genitalia and stuff like that. So which is I'm sure inspired like the Mike Myers, like all that stuff that happened in all the Austin Powers and stuff, right? So yeah.
Right. Less again, like in the same category as the Michelle Pfeiffer scene in like that doesn't really work bits is the one where Mark McClure rents
the video date.
Yeah, from Russ Meyer, making a little cameo appearance there, and he takes it home, and that bit doesn't really work, does it? I do remember that, and I remember, and I did it again this time. I found myself, I was like, I think I did this when I was a kid, because the main character's name is Ray. And then so the video store guy goes, hey, come over here. What's your name? He goes, Ray. Hey, I got something for you. And he turns around and he goes to the shelf and he gets the one off the shelf, Ray. And like 3 or 4 down is my name, Ron. And I remember when I was a kid, I'm like, hey, that's mine. If I was there, I'd get that one, right? So wondering what your video date.
So I was like, I wonder what mine would be. Right? So, I think all the ones that had like sexy girls and that may or may not have been naked in my version. All those I vaguely remember though, because they were like just at the very beginning of my puberty. So this came out, I was about 10, 11 when I came out. So I think
is that in that sequence when the guy turns up and shoots? Is that Andrew Dice Clay?
Yeah, it was the Andrew Dice Clay. Yeah, I had forgotten it was hey, Andrew Dice Clay. Yeah,
there's a lot of people in here. Like we haven't mentioned Steve Guttenberg, Rosanna Arquette. I mean, it's Brian.
Yeah, that one was one that didn't really work. No. The Rosanna Arquette, Steve Guttenberg one.
No. Felt very dated.
Yeah. So and very like, So I didn't really go anywhere, right? So there wasn't really a punchline to that one. And it kind of went on a while. So
agreed. So I mean, I've kind of run out of notes, or I've run out of specific sketches I wanted. Oh, there was one other one. And one that went on a bit too long, but was
the roast.
Yeah, I thought the
roast.
So basically, this guy dies, and then his wake is actually a roast, right? And they have like Henry Youngman and Jackie Vernon and fucking Rip Taylor
and Slappy White and
so those people, and it's a funny enough gag, but it just goes on too long, doesn't it?
Yeah.
Make the gag, and then okay, we get it, and then it just carries on for a while, and you think this should probably. But again, it's not horribly so. It's just you feel like this could have been tightened up a bit, or
right, yeah. But they at least linked it to like the first part of it is like him is like there's like two sketches that are linked actually, right? Because I think that's why it makes it feels longer, is because the first one is him, Harvey, watching like a movie review show, and they say, okay, and we've got a new segment, we're just going to review people's lives. Right. And so today we're going to start with this guy, Harvey Picnic. What a waste of a life, and just give him 2 thumbs down in his life. And like, what's going on? And then because of that, he has a heart attack and dies, right?
Yeah.
So
like a Siskel and Ebert type, right?
What's that?
Siskel and Ebert type.
Siskel and Ebert, yeah. So give him the 2 thumbs up, 2 thumbs down. And so then it goes to his wake or his funeral or whatever. And then of course they turn this total like roast. Yeah. With at the time famous comedians.
Yeah. With really like the corniest old guys,
like Rip Taylor throwing his confetti and stuff, and
yeah.
That's like a real like take my wife please kind of jokes and stuff, exactly. which is like they're not that they're not funny, but they are funny because they're not funny, So exactly. I found myself laughing a lot on that one, even though it wasn't like this is not a funny joke, but I'm enjoying myself anyway. And then eventually. Yeah, and then they bring the wife up, and she's still trying to be really like upset because her husband's died, and then she kind of tells one joke that gets a laugh, and she kind of, and then it kind of turns her into, and then she becomes alive and starts telling jokes at his expense and stuff, right? So yeah, it was a little long, but it definitely had a good setup though.
Rip Taylor, it reminded me of Rip Taylor, because Rip Taylor's, I actually, it's a good analogy. Rip Taylor's one of those weird, like, celebrities who I only know from him turning up in loads of films and little cameo appearances, and I have no idea of his actual career or how far back he goes as a comedian, or if he was, once great and then just. But he's just one of those guys that whenever you see him, it's like, who the fuck is this guy with?
Yeah. I remember seeing him when he was a kid, and like, why do people think this guy's funny? Yeah. Like, what is this?
But
what
at
is
the
his
same time,
shtick?
he never like he could so easily be really annoying. Oh, fucking Rip Taylor! But for some reason, I wasn't annoyed by him. I was just puzzled by him.
Confused. Yeah, he's very confusing. He always has the confetti, and I was like, "What is the confetti?" Like,
yeah, I'm sure it makes sense in context. Like maybe if you go far back enough, he was some kind of Borscht Belt kind of superstar or something. And
right.
But yeah, for us, he's just like, who is this guy with that stupid wig? And
right. One little.
He's not quite one of the other, right? Because he's got that old Jewish gags thing, but he's also got this strange camp thing going on as well, right? And who knows? He might be like really progressive. Like maybe he started doing that shit like in the 50s or something.
I don't know. He was very funny.
No, generally it's been on the last. The guy just puzzles me, and I've never felt the need. I've never found him funny enough to actually, look him up. Like, I must know more about this guy. So I continue to be puzzled by him.
Although I feel like I should now, but that we've been talking about it. But there's one little cameo. I don't know if you noticed it, but it was a really interesting cameo. There were in that roast. There's a paramedic. Okay. That shows up, has no lines, just in the background, just like an extra, played by Bryan Cranston.
Okay. Yes. He's not very proud of this, was he?
Yeah, totally. He was a working actor. He was just trying to get some jobs at this point, right? So.
But no, I noticed in the IMDb trivia, he did say that this was the one film he'd like to remove from his filmography, which is slightly unfair of Bryan Cranston. It's nothing to be ashamed of, I don't think, really.
Yeah, everyone's got to start somewhere, right? But I think everyone's got those ones that you're kind of ashamed of that you don't want to admit, whatever. But but whatever. So
Vancouver No Sign, never heard of it.
I never heard of it. I don't know. Some fat guy did that one. Anyway, that's Oh, and then there was one more. There was that we didn't talk about was the it was a commercial parody called Silly Pate.
Oh, that was quite funny, actually. Yeah, that did. Yeah. Well, the thing is, overall, I mean, I would find this film hard to recommend. I think, like, I wouldn't say, you got to see Abbott in the Moon, but for whatever reason, we both happen to have stumbled across it at just the right age. So it's kind of fun for us to reminisce and it hit us just at the right spot, I suppose. I'm wondering if it's beyond criticism for both of us, really. I mean, but my instinct tells me that, like I said, it's had a bit of a, although it's not great and it does have lame parts, it's got a bit of a bad, undeservedly bad reputation because of its connection with Kentucky Fried Movie, which also is doubly kind of unfair because I don't think Kentucky Fried Movie is particularly funny.
I'll have to. I think now that I've been inspired to go back and watch UHF, I might watch Kentucky Fried Movie as well.
Yeah, I'd be interested to see what you think about it actually, because it's been a while since but my feeling was it wasn't so much that it was. I feel a lot of it had dated since it was new. Like it could have potentially been hilarious maybe when it was new, but it just all the parodies, maybe because it got there early and had been copied so many times by other things. Maybe it's not its fault. I can't remember about it, but yeah, the main thing people talk about is this parody of Enter the Dragon and Bruce Lee films is in it, which is supposed to be hilarious. And I remember watching that, and maybe because I'd already been a kung fu film fan, and just thinking, well, this is quite lazy, and it's just making fun of lip syncing, delay, and which isn't that funny when you get used to it, and it might even be slightly borderline racist.
Right.
So yeah, I don't know. I kind of be curious maybe to revisit, but I couldn't drum up much enthusiasm about it. I'd be interested to see what you think about it.
Okay. On the Wikipedia page for this movie, they have like at the bottom like see also like connected movies. And the three movies it connects it to is the Kentucky Fried Movie, UHF, and also Disco Beaver from Outer Space.
Okay, right.
Yeah.
Yes.
What is the connection to one?
Yes, again, Disco Beaver from Outer Space, if I remember correctly, is the setup is like a TV station, or I think the National Lampoon film.
Oh, okay. Yeah.
Worse than really poor. Yeah.
Okay, well, that's all I think on Names on the Moon. I enjoyed watching it again. It was like it was a real nostalgia fest for me, and some of them were still funny. It was an enjoyable hour, and it's very also mercifully short. It's not too long. So,
that's good. Yeah, it's 90 minutes or just under, right? And yeah, for me too, I was like, I was not dreading it exactly, but I thought, I wonder how much meat is going to be left on the board here. And I kind of had an agreeable 90 minutes. And the good thing of this setup is that if one setup punch idea doesn't work, you're on to the next one 2 minutes later, right? So I think that's what's made Saturday Night Live work for so many years, is that it's like this doesn't work, but we got another one coming up next, right? So right. Reminded me as well that I do need to see Emmanuel 5. I've never seen it, so
I've never seen that either. Is it like a softcore porn or something?
Yeah. Starring Monique Gabriel.
Softcore?
Yeah. Although there's like slightly different, but I don't think any of the versions quite go over into hardcore, but of varying degree. It's one of those films that has several different cuts, and I found a composite version which had it all edited together, and I've been meaning to get it, for a while. And yes, this inspired me to put that on my short list to watch soon. So I'm just going to take a quick piss break here and then we'll get on with Nude.
This is where we put a commercial break for our sponsors that don't exist. Let's all go to the lobby. Let's all go to the lobby. Let's all go to the lobby.
I may have mentioned this before, but Let's All Go to the Lobby belongs to that category of songs for me that turn into other songs halfway through if I start singing them.
Oh yeah, what does it turn into?
Let's all go to the lobby. Let's all go to the lobby. Let's all go to the lobby. I wonder who it's from. It's Blue's Clues. We just got a letter.
Blue's Clues?
Did you never see Blue's Clues? The kids.
You mean the kids show?
Yeah.
Oh, I actually never watched Blue's Clues, but I know of it. I know all about it, but I've never actually seen it.
Right.
Did they co-opt that song?
No, it's just they have a song called "We Just Got a Letter," which they sing every time someone delivers a letter.
We just got a letter.
Let's all go to the lobby. Yeah, it's
They probably just took the same tune.
But the other one that gets it for me as well is, and again, it's in my head, so I'm not exactly how sure they match up in real life. Is get your motor running, dude. And on the highway, looking for adventure, and whatever comes our way, we gotta move these microwave ovens, refrigerators.
Speaking of UHF,
Are they in that? Do they?
yeah, don't you remember he does a full parody of that song in UHF where he does I can't remember what the words are changed to. He does like the whole video with like headbands that are like animated headbands and stuff like a full parody of that video. Yeah.
Yes. No, like I said, UHF, I think I've only seen it once or twice. I didn't rewatch it like I was in the so.
I really did watch UHF again. Yeah. Definitely.
Right. So, from Amazon Women on the Moon to 1960s Nude on the Moon. Which I had mentioned before briefly on podcast that's in my top 10 favorite films of all time. Yes,
Really? Okay.
so I'm very, very curious to see what you.
That's how you said. It was the time that I asked you what your favorite film of all time were. This is one of them.
Yeah, I think so.
Oh, okay.
Yeah. Okay. Yes, and so we mentioned Amazon Women on the Moon partially uses those kind of 50s SF beefcake guy astronauts go to a distant planet and find it's full of love-starved women trope, which were kind of played fairly straight back in the day. Catwomen on the Moon and Firemaids from Outer Space. So this is kind of, I guess, you could argue, is a very early parody of those films.
Would you say this would be a parody of that?
Oh yes, I mean I think it's very much tongue-in-cheek.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, I don't think it's unknowingly ridiculous, and
Okay.
it certainly is ridiculous.
That's for sure. Yeah.
So you hadn't seen Nude on the Moon before?
No, never.
Okay, this is I can't remember how much time I watched this. I can always go back to this film, and it's just it never fails to amuse me. I just find it really relaxing or something. It's just like on and just chill out,
Yeah. I had to watch. I had to watch this a little bit in bits and pieces.
Okay.
Because I had to watch kind of because I've been sort of very busy this week, so I had to watch all the movies we're talking about this week, sort of in my commute and at work and stuff. And this was not entirely safe for work, so I sort of had to watch. I'd watch a little, I'd watch a little bit and I'd hide it, and then I'll watch it later, and then so I had to kind of watch in little bits where I felt I was safe to watch it. So,
right.
Yeah. So I didn't get it didn't flow as much as it did.
Yes,
I can just put it off.
You didn't get to immerse in it.
Yeah, I was immersed in the world, or in the moon. Sorry, not the world. Right. So.
Yeah, I know what you mean. It's one of those films that if you were just to glance over someone's shoulder, you'd think.
Yeah. I was just I was trying to hold it to my chest and watch it with my iPad. So.
But really, it's the most innocent, unneurotic film you could imagine.
Really, yeah.
Yeah.
Pretty much.
So in this one, a scientist played by Lester Brown and the older Professor William Mayer decide that while they're rocket scientists, they decide to go to the moon. And Lester Brown is, kind of very immersed in his work. He doesn't even realize that their secretary, Kathy, played by Marietta, has got the hots for him. He's just immersed in his work. He's not interested. And an uncle dies, so they have enough finance to go to the moon themselves in 6 months, right? In 6 months, they decide to, it seems just the two of them, plan an entire rocket to the moon.
Yeah, just them. Yeah, they make it and build it and plan and fly it all up there all by themselves.
Although during the takeoff sequence, you do get someone at mission control, right? There's like one other voice you hear. Okay, good to go. We don't know who this person is, but basically it just seems like the two have done it all. They also decide not to notify the press, just because that would be a fuss or something. I don't know.
I guess so. Yeah.
And you don't really
it's sort of been implied that maybe that the NASA and the other like space program are don't approve of what they're doing, right? That there's,
I guess,
or that there is no real space program yet. I mean, it's still early 60s, right? So it's still 8 years before actually visiting the moon, right?
Yeah, we didn't know. There could have been a nudist camp on the moon. We just didn't know.
Yeah, it could have been. Yeah, so
so they build this entire, which you don't really see. You just see them kind of climbing a scaffold, and you get inside, and there's some miniature work of them, which, to be honest, isn't bad. I mean, it's not terrible or anything. It's just very minimal, right? It's very minimal.
Yeah. And then they do this sort of filter on it, which makes it like this kind of green dark thing.
Yeah.
Anytime that it's like so it's to, I guess, to hide the wires or whatever it is. So
yeah, and then they take off. They don't seem to be strapped in or anything. They're just kind of sitting next to each other. Right next to each other, but they still talk to each other with the walkie-talkies. Right?
Yeah.
Which is kind of cute. And then during the space flight, they seem to fall asleep or something. I wasn't quite sure. But anyway, they do eventually land on the moon, and they emerge in their kind of funky colored spacesuits with bucket helmets.
Yeah, basically Power Rangers.
Yeah. And they're amazing pieces of technology as well, because they do seem to have a tube going in to give them oxygen under the bottom of the bucket. But later on in the film, they just open up the front.
Yeah, they just open their. And they've still got that like microphone in front of their mouth. So I don't know. I couldn't tell if it was supposed to be a microphone or like the oxygen. Like
I think it's the oxygen, isn't it?
Was it? I thought it was the microphone to talk to each other, because that's why they were.
Yeah, and they keep wearing it. Like, I thought at some point they'd do the old thing of like, hang on a minute, and like, you can breathe.
Like in Amazon Women in the Moon, like, what I thought. Yeah, there's the oxygen. Moon's oxygen atmosphere is just like Earth's. Yeah.
Yeah, but no, they don't do that. They go around for the whole film with these helmets on.
And that's the whole reason why they leave too. I guess they had to, because it was like, we're running out of oxygen, we got to go, right? So that's otherwise there's no other way to leave, I guess.
Yes. So, and on the moon, they discover a nudist camp.
Yeah.
Which is actually Coral Castle Homestead, California, which is has an interesting history of its own. I'll mention that a little bit later on when we get to notes about this film. Yes, so it's called Nude on the Moon, but it's topless on the moon, really, isn't it? Because you wouldn't.
Yeah, it's not. Yeah, it was very poorly named, because I was like, "Where's the nude?" It's just topless.
Right. Yeah, you couldn't really show a pickle and beaver at this point, right? So all the women are men, and even a few children, right? They're sun worshippers. They kind of lounge around and play exciting sports such as throwing the ball next to the person who's incredibly close to you for a while. I enjoyed that.
and you can't also fail to mention that they all have pipe cleaner antenna.
Well, the aliens run.
What's that? Yeah, of course they're aliens, right? So you got to have like complete with just like a headband that you see. It's like a headband with made obviously with pipe cleaners.
Yeah,
right?
And they're telepathic.
And with the antenna makes them telepathic.
Right, and they're led by a queen who has a cape and everything, and this is the same actress who plays the secretary, Marietta. And immediately Lester Brown, the younger of the two, falls for her. Right, you're acting like a schoolboy. The professor says, "I feel like a schoolboy." And of course, we get every time they meet, we get to hear the theme tune, right? I fell in love with a little moon doll.
It was like for every day after that.
It's kind of like yes, and the people in the nudist camp also enjoy dancing about a bit, making
frolicking, lots of frolicking.
Yes, making
all you do in the moon is frolic.
Reference to the professor's mustache by taking a leaf off a tree and putting it on and going, yes. "Look, good mustache." Yeah,
they're kind of like wood nymphy, kind of like, you know, like they don't speak, they only communicate telepathically, but they're very like, ooh, they're you know, they've never seen people with this thing, right?
And all the men are like really muscular,
yeah.
All shot in lovely Eastman color. So it's just, yeah, I mean, that's it. I mean, they wander about and they look at these almost naked people running about, and then eventually it's time to go back to Earth. And wouldn't you know it, he left his camera behind, so all the evidence that they have of their adventures, it's all gone. It's all for naught, right? And
not that would have been any kind of evidence, because it just looks like they went to California and filmed some people naked.
Well, it's Florida. It's Florida specifically. Yeah, and but lo and behold, when he gets back and he's feeling down and everything, in walks Marietta as the secretary. What's the matter? And then he sees her. Oh, she's the spitting image of my moon, my little moon doll.
Oh,
so happy ending.
Yeah,
everyone's happy.
Yeah.
Right. So
you also forgot to mention that the moon is peppered with gold.
Oh yes,
there's gold everywhere. Yes. You can just pick it up everywhere. So they were going to collect the gold to finance their next trip back. But of course but they can't bring anything because they can only have exactly the amount of weight that it takes to carry the two of them.
Right. Exactly.
They can't have even 1 gram more. They can take it with them.
Yeah, so I'm going to get on to some more background detail about the genius director and locations and stuff. But first, I'm dying to know, Ron, what did you make of Nude on the Moon?
Well, I think I've sort of let it go there. It was, I mean, there was lots of parts which were quite amusing. I was like, oh, you know, it was, and I was like, oh, this movie is so Clive. Like it's so.
Yeah, I take that as a compliment. If someone watched this movie and thought,
if I ever saw this movie just written, not even connected to you, I was like, oh my god, this is like, I would tell you about this movie. Hey, have you ever seen this movie? This is your kind of movie. Like, it has your name written. Like, I wouldn't be surprised if you were who directed this movie?
Doris Wishman.
If you were Doris Wishman in a previous life, you know, like that was. You know,
oh, that would have been awesome.
But
I'm planning a remake one day when I have the resources.
Yeah, I'm sure. Yeah, they haven't done it. The only thing was that it sort of it got, the premise grew a little old after a while, and it was like I wanted something. There was no conflict at all, right?
No, it's very nice.
Absolutely no. It was like literally the whole, like the big bulk of the movie is them standing with their camera going, "Hey, look at that scene over there," and then it clips with it, and it's just them frolicking or throwing a ball, and it goes back to them, "Hey, look at that scene over there," and then they move over there, and then it's more like people just. It's literally is just like a nudie magazine on film. Really, like nothing is happening. It's just pictures of nude people, right? Or not even nude people, half nude people.
What more? Right? It's great.
So I was like, you know, if I had my way, I would have loved to have at least a little bit of conflict, at least a little bit of plot. You know, just something like, you know, like I guess they started to do it with like the oxygen, or like she looks like, you know, like she loves him but she doesn't see her, and right. But I just wanted a little bit like you know, just a little bit like you know, maybe, you know, they make them take their clothes off, or, you know, what are these clothes, or, you know, just, or, you know, something, even just something like but there was, yeah. So I got a little bored. I'll be honest, a little bit after a while. I was like, okay, all right, that's enough. All right, let's do something else. Right?
That would be too much distress, or it would destroy the tranquility.
But I admit that I appreciated the premise quite well, and it was quite amusing. I enjoyed it.
Yeah, it's kind of fun, right?
Yeah. What's that?
It's kind of fun, right?
It was fun. It was a fun idea. Yeah. So and definitely I was like, oh, this is like I can see where Amazon Women on the Moon, whoever wrote Amazon Women on the Moon must have seen this movie at some point. Probably this is
right.
definitely one of the inspirations for that movie, right? So
yeah, and I endless source of amusement for some reason for me. Shot in Miami, Florida, in this place, Coral Castle Homestead. I don't know why I said California. It's Florida.
Yeah, you said California. That's why I said California.
In fact, it's very important because it determines what my next choice in reaction to this is going to be. Actually, is the location. But
it's about Florida. Huh?
So this place, Coral Castle, is kind of interesting as well because it's also in a couple of other films. It's in Wild Women of Wongo, which is another one of these kind of films that Amazon Women would have parodied.
Okay. Right.
And, it's a strange children's film called Jimmy the Wonder Boy. Okay. And this place is made. It was basically made by one guy. This guy Edward Lee Selman, and he was a Latvian American who built this himself out of it's like ancient coral that's turned into limestone.
Okay.
And he basically made this entire thing by himself over a long period of time, and he used lots of kind of ingenious like pulley systems and levers and things, and he's just this slightly kind of crazed guy, I suppose, on a mission, and he built this whole place by himself. And there were all these rumors about how he was actually using telekinesis to, levitate the rocks and stuff like this, which was all bullshit. He was just a very kind of clever dude with a one-track mind for building this place, which I'm not sure if it was actually a nudist camp or if it was just a kind of like a theme park or retreat kind of thing. But they shot a few films there. So I'd like to go there. I don't know if it still exists, but it looks like a fascinating, like one of those one-off places like Port Merion in the north of Wales, or that cave here in Saitama. There's a guy started carving a hotel, like a cave, like by himself. He slowly carved a hotel out of the rock for years and years and years, and he got like some of it done, and then he died. And then you can still go and see it, but you can't go in because his family are kind of embarrassed about it or something. But I visited it from the outside, but you can't go in. It's all fenced off. You have to break in. So it's kind of just this interesting little location, which I think kind of adds to it. It is a nice looking place. Like I think I'd quite like to frolic there for a day. Just I'd like to go there with you, Ron, naked, and throw a ball back and forth between each other. I think we'd have a good time.
You made it really awkward now. Suddenly it's very awkward here.
Yeah, but I know you would at the drop of a hat. Yeah,
maybe. Yeah.
So directed by Doris Wishman and apparently co-directed by this guy Raymond Felon, which was something I wasn't aware of the first time I saw the film. This is something that's been retroactively added to the IMDb. Which kind of makes sense because Doris Wishman is fascinating. Doris Wishman is one of the few female directors who were directing exploitation movies at this time.
Right.
She carried on doing it through the 60s, through the 70s, into the beginning of the 80s, and then even later on, she returned to filmmaking just before she died in the early 2000s to do some hardcore pornography. She did do some hardcore pornography as well, and all her films are super weird, and they're all extremely identifiable. Like you can't mistake a Doris Wishman film for anything. This is an outlier. This is not a typical Doris Wishman film. I love it to death, but I wouldn't necessarily have it as a example of a Doris Wishman film. Doris Wishman films usually have lots of close-ups of things that have nothing to do with what people are talking about.
Right.
You'll suddenly have close-ups of like packets of biscuits and ashtrays and things for no good reason. Very weird, kind of strange, cockeyed angle choices. Burn her attractive photography, Cedar Smith. So she had a series of, again, mostly in the sexploitation genre. So they would have nudity or women hanging around in lingerie or like body stockings. There's a lot of body stockings in her films. And she has made some incredible films. Depending, I can imagine Doris Wishman films driving you up the wall, Ron.
Maybe.
They have amazing time stretching capabilities where 1 hour feels like 6.
Yeah, right.
She's most famous I think for a couple of films that again, atypical, but closer to the Doris Wishman touch, which I think, if you're interested, would be the best starting point for you.
Okay.
Double Agent 73 and Deadly Weapons, which are like spy parodies, starring this woman called Chesty Morgan, who had enormous tits.
Okay.
And basically, the entire films are just, they're just built around this woman having ridiculously oversized tits.
Okay.
In one of them, she actually has a secret camera implanted in one of her tits. So throughout the film, she like raises it, and you hear like a shutter sound.
Uh-huh.
That's her taking photos surreptitiously. So this is an atypical Doris Wishman film, but for me, it's one. It might be my favorite of hers. Very early on in her career as well. I think it might be like the second feature she directed or something. Yes, so that's basically what I want to talk about, was Doris Wishman and Coral Castle. Other than that, I mean, there's not that much to talk about, really. I just find this film an immensely enjoyable, tranquil, relaxing. It's like going into a onsen or a sauna or something like that. I love it to bits.
Right. I see that.
Yeah, and I'm quite pleased to see that you didn't hate it. That you kind of you look, by the look on your face, which the listeners can't see, you look kind of bemused and amused.
Yeah, it was amusing, and it was more amusing that it was so you. It was like really, 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 really you.
That's one of the nicest things anyone ever said to me.
Yeah. It was So, but anyway, it was and it was also mercifully short. So it was
50 minutes.
It definitely had, if it had been any longer than that, I definitely would have been like, okay, this is
right. Yeah, so there we go. Nude on the Moon. I think we've actually run, again, perfect example sometimes of your favorite films. You have the little list to say about, right? Because it's just
right.
That's it. But I'm glad I got a chance to make you watch Nude on the Moon. That does, that's amused me.
Right.
Yeah.
Ever amused you? Yeah. By the way, it was a nice trip to the moon.
Yes, 2 trips to the moon.
2 trips to the moon. 3 trips if you count last week too.
Yeah.
Last episode too.
So we might go elsewhere in the galaxy next time.
Okay.
Actually, we will be returning to Florida.
Oh, okay.
That's my loose connection. I haven't decided which film yet exactly. I have my suspicions, but our loose theme for the next episode of Margie Morningwood is the 1960s.
Spoilers.
1960s exploitation movies made in Florida.
Made in Florida, not set. Made in Florida.
Oh, well, both, I guess. Well, actually, it depends what film I choose. Right. But yes, I think it's going to be fun, because I sense it's not an area of exploitation film you're overly familiar with, the 1960s kind of
Florida movies.
Florida exploitation movies.
What is Florida's? Is Florida significant or relevant?
Florida, I mean, we'll talk more about it next time, but it seems as if there was an awful lot of independent film production out of Florida at this time, and a lot of firsts in terms of like nudity and gore and stuff seems to have come out of Florida. And there are a lot of strange movies made in Florida during this time, which we will also explore. And little trailer for fans of the podcast coming soon on YouTube. Me and Ron will be starting a new series, the Septic Shock Road Trip, state by state regional horror film journey across the United States. And eventually we will get to Florida, not for a while yet, and there'll be plenty of strangeness to choose. In fact, we may even have to do a double bill or even 2 shows maybe when we get to Florida.
Oh, really?
Oh, yes. I'm very fond of my Florida exploration. Anyway, I'm rambling. That's next time. Okay. See you next time, Ron.
See you next time, Clive. And also, yeah, join us on our new YouTube channel, which will be coming out soon.
Coming soon. Yeah, look out for the Septic Shock road trip. My little moon doll.
Oh, you gotta finish this episode with that. You got a copy of it?
Oh, I'm doing it now. My little moon
The
doll.
moon doll.
Like,
Moon.
rain. I'm going to get this high school.
Call back. Nice.
Straight from the moon, save my love soon. My love's from the moon. Why so bright your light, your love, soon the moon. So bright your light, your side. Straight from the moon. You'll see my love soon. Love's from the moon. Why so bright your light, your love, soon the moon. 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 Soon the Straight from the moon, you'll see my love soon. My love's from the moon. Why so bright your light, your love, soon the moon.